So without further ado, we're going to bring in Larry Sharpe, who is, Larry, I'd say a sane libertarian. I've had my.
I'm angry because you know what I wanted. I came here for the free for all. I want to do Piers Morgan. I want to do a little. Okay, it's fine. I guess I'll talk like a regular person now. Go ahead.
Well, as regular as libertarians get, and I make the joke because libertarians do give themselves a bad reputation, depending on which Twitter handles you follow. We
tend to care more about virtue signaling more than anything else.
Well, and shit posting for at least the Libertarian Party of, is it Vermont or New Hampshire?
New Hampshire is famous for that.
Okay, it's New Hampshire then. Larry, this is your second time on the show. The last time we had a really amazing, interesting discussion. Everybody should go back and watch it for policy. You've got a video on your YouTube channel. It's 8 hours of your policy, what you would implement as, I guess, governor of New York. You're running for the governor of New York. And the last time we discussed it, it was pre-Christmas. I forget what the next steps were. But there's been some developments and the world should know who you are. Take it away.
We've got a couple of, I think, wonderful endorsements from the Republican Liberty Caucus and also from our House PAC. So we had a couple endorsements, which is great. That's what I'm happy about because we do need some more of that. We are now in the process of petitioning now so that we can get into the Republican primary. The Republican GOP in New York State is utterly broken. The leadership of the GOP in my state hasn't won an election in 24 years, meaning statewide. Not senator, not governor, not AG, nothing in 24 years. And they thought, wait a minute, how can we fix it? We look back at our history of 2008, and we had a very charismatic young Democrat win. His name was Barack Obama. So GOP said, I know, we'll get him. We'll use Mitt Romney. That was their answer. I know you're laughing. It's a joke. However, my state said exactly the same thing. We just had a very young, charismatic Democrat, guy named Mamdani, just win, a mayor of New York City. And my GOP said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to use Mitt Romney Jr. They're picking an old guy named Blakeman, who's in his 70s. He's just an establishment as possibly can be. And then they picked the cop as his lieutenant governor in an election that is not about law and order right now in New York State. That was 2022. 2024, it's an economy election. They've got the wrong election, wrong time, wrong guy. It's never going to work. It's a disaster. Someone's got to make this work. And how do we do that? As I said, Trump taught us this. The way we do it is through coalition, multiple groups of people together to fight the establishment. That's how we got the Tulsi Gabbards and the Elon Musks and the RFK Juniors all aboard. I'm doing the same thing in my state. I'm trying to run right now in the Republican primary. And right after that, I will run with petitions to get the Libertarian line. So I will have the Republican line and the Libertarian line because in New York State, we have what's called fusion voting, and we can be listed on multiple lines. And Democrats vote for Libertarians. They don't like voting for Republicans at all, but they vote for Libertarians. I know that because when I ran before, we did the data. About 30% of the people who support me in the past, they're actually registered Democrats. About 30% are either no party affiliation or independent, and about 40% are actually Republicans. So I know I can create a coalition. That's what I'm doing. These next steps are me literally getting on the ballot to fight for the primary because the Republicans in my state said, who needs a primary? That's for chumps. We are going to we're going to coordinate our guy just like the Democrats did for Kamala Harris because that worked out so well.
Well, why did Elise Stefanik suspend her gubernatorial race? If you know.
Yes. No, she was doing well. I didn't do this until she dropped out. When she was running, I didn't do this. I was waiting, right? And she was running. She was at least known across the state. Whether again, it's a tough state. It's only 23% of my state is Republican, so it's a very low percentage. But even for that, she was relatively well known. People within the state knew her. Republican establishment knew her. People knew her. She was famous from being, on the national stage, and she got bullied out. She got bullied out because guys like Blakeman said, no. We're going to go. And Trump did not take a stand. He just let it go. And when he let it go, she said, I'm not going to sit here and fight this. The problem happening across New York State is Republicans are quitting. They're not running. And here's the biggest problem. In my state right now, we are about 2 cycles away from Republicans no longer being able to run a statewide candidate anymore. I'm not joking. If you do your homework right now, in New Mexico, of every blue state, there's no Republican candidate for governor. The governor is running unopposed. That's how bad it is.
Why does that happen?
Because you can't raise any money. You cannot win. It is impossible to win. So who's going to give you money? It's impossible to win. Why would you? I punish myself on it. I go into debt when I do this. Remember, I'm the only person running who's not being paid by the government to run. Everyone else gets paid by the government to run. So I'm not being paid. I'm just getting my ass kicked. So why would you do it when you know you're not going to win? Why would you do it when there's no money involved at all? Why would you give me money if I have no chance of making any impact whatsoever? Of course not.
Let me question. You mentioned Mamdani, and everybody says we want to see New York go to hell in a handbasket because it's the only way people are going to learn. Some of what we've seen looks like New York going to hell in a handbasket in short order. Is the reality of New York under Mamdani in his short tenure as dire as we think it is based on what we see on the internet?
It never is as dire. It's always an exaggeration. But is it bad? Yes. But here's the lesson of Mamdani. The lesson of Mamdani is when Democrats get upset, they don't vote Republican still. They still don't vote Republican. And for those who don't know, and then this time Republicans win. No, Mamdani taught us. Even Democrats are unhappy in my state, and they went further left. They didn't go to Republicans. They've been taught for 20 years Republicans are evil. They're not going to vote for them. That's not a thing. That's not how that works. So we have to find someone who's a coalition candidate. And here's the part I remember. When I was in Florida during election night, I was at parties for the election party, and it was a bunch of women who were sitting there who all voted for Trump. These women were urbanite women, educated women. This is the Democratic stronghold. That's what the Democratic Party is all about. So I asked them, I said, why'd you vote for Trump? You should, in theory, you should be a Democrat. And they went, oh, no, we are Democrats. Well, why'd you vote for Trump? Well, because I really voted for Bobby Kennedy, or really voted for Tulsi Gabbard, or really voted for Elon Musk. Like they thought they voted for somebody else through Trump. That is the coalition that we can build. That's the way we get Democrats to actually vote for someone who's not a Mamdani. So is it bad? Yes. Is it as bad as you think? No, but it's been doing this for a long time. Here's the biggest issue people don't know is that when Curtis Lewa, perfectly, when Curtis Lewa ran, he got 7% of the vote, not 17, not 70, 7. That is how strong Democrats are in my city. 7%.
And the rationale, as we've discussed this, and people can be free to agree or disagree, no Republican candidate's going to win as a Republican candidate. So if you sneak in or maneuver in, strategize in a libertarian candidate who your policies are good. They pissed off some of the, I won't say far right, but they pissed off some of the, further right conservative angle where they say nobody wants to talk about any form of amnesty for illegals, period.
Correct.
And when you float that idea, it pisses people off. But, not to marginalize
those
them.
people are going to vote for me anyway if I have a Republican line, because Democrats are far worse than I am. Democrats are far worse than I am. For the people who want to go, oh my God, you can't do anything. You can think that if you want to, and maybe if you live in Oklahoma, South Carolina, Texas, maybe that will work. That will not work in my state. You will just be virtue signaling. You'll be screaming at the wind. Most of the people in my state, haven't you realized this? New York City, through all of this, is still a sanctuary city. We have learned nothing. Do you understand me? This is where I am. For someone to tell me, well, Larry, we have to do that. Now, why would I stay and fight? Because here's the biggest thing. And some of you who are listening who aren't in New York State may think I'm crazy. And perhaps I am. And I'll accept that. But here's what I know. If we beat them in New York, we can beat them anywhere. If we hold them in New York, we can hold them anywhere. If this model works in New York, it works everywhere. In fact, this model is even close. It'll work in other places. And no one else is even trying it.
Larry, yesterday I had on Jim Carlin, who's running for senator of Iowa. And, I like to get whatever platform I have to get these ideas out there. What do you need right now? What's the next step in what you're doing? And what do you want people to know to the extent you can get? I mean, it's only voters in New York State that can vote for you. What do you need? What's the next step, and what's the plan of action?
A guy like me requires the most important thing, which is legitimacy, which is popularity. If there's anyone out there saying, you know what, I like this guy, Larry. He's not exactly, but he's interesting. He's loud, whatever. He's fun. You know what? I know a guy who'd like to have him on his podcast. I like a guy who'd like to interview him. That is so super helpful. Get my name to people who who are in this arena who would want to hear me yap about some stuff. Even if they want to yell at me, I don't care. They can get me to people who want to amnesty and want to call me, I don't know, a Democrat or whatever they want to call me. I mean, I'm not, but I don't care. They can, whatever. As long as I get more people to see me, that matters tremendously. That's my number one issue. Because right now what I'm doing is I'm going out and getting signatures. And the more people who've heard of me, the easier it is for them to sign that petition for me. So that's the best thing you can do for me. If you want to donate, go to LarrySharpe.com/donate. If you want to let people know that I exist, do me a favor, let people know I exist. Put my name online, tell people all those things. It's important.
Well, we'll in a few minutes, short minutes, let's start with your plan to save
Yep.
New York. Thus far, it can be a sanctuary city. It's an exodus state. What is your plan of action to actually save the state of New York from the wench that is the current governor, Hochul?
Yes. The number one issue is affordability. We have to deal with three parts. Taxes, regulation is another critical one too, right? Taxes, regulation, and energy. Those are our three issues, right? Taxation is critical. If we open up, as I mentioned before, a sovereign fund for New York State, both Trump and also RFK Jr. spoke about a sovereign fund back in 2024. They were right then. I'm still right now. I'm going to say they copied my idea. I don't know if they did, but they copied my idea. And so now we're going to actually do it for New York State. Once we do that, that will pay for education, eliminating school tax, cutting property tax in half. Off the bat, I just gave you a reason and a way to cut tax. But I'm still not done. That also allows local schools to control local schools. This is what I want. No federal strings attached, no state strings attached. Somehow, every single president we've ever had was educated without a Department of Education. Somehow we did it. It's crazy, I know, but it does work. We can educate our kids without it. Right now, New York State spends the most possible on education, and meaning over 40,000, more than anybody in the entire world. And we come in as the 50 states, 28th. That's, by the way, not good. But not just that. We should actually start helping people out here when it comes to energy. Nuclear energy is the answer. Trump just said it. And in fact, even Hochul said it. Look, brother, if Hochul and Trump agree with me, I got to be right on that one, right? I mean, I got to be right on that one. Both of them agree with me. Nuclear power is the answer. However, you want nuclear power owned 50% literally by the people of the municipality that it's in. I've been speaking to people who are in that world who would finance it, and they're okay with it. They're like, yes, we would do it. We would happily finance that, because those nuclear power plants would mostly be used to bring in technology. And that's the key. But if local people own it, they're more apt to let it happen. You will see that happen. It will work. That will lower energy costs by default, because the government's not going to build it. I'm a libertarian. Governments don't build anything. The government won't build it. The government will just lease the land out and let it work. And as the market begins to work, what will happen? Competition, prices come down. I got lower energy. I got more opportunity in my state, and I just dealt with taxes. Now, I could go on, as you know, for 8 hours. Well, I want to give you a chunk.
No, for sure. And I'll reference everybody to the 8-hour video. Question from our locals community. I already know the answer. Do you take money from AIPAC?
No, absolutely not. I do not.
I Googled that actually before I asked the question.
There we go. Yes.
Suspected I knew the answer. Second question. Yes. And this is the one I want to go viral when people snip and clip. This is not going to be Pierce Morgan level chicanery. Dexter Taylor, I know your answer to this. On Second Amendments, what is your position on Second Amendment rights? And what do you do with Dexter Taylor if you get elected governor?
100%. Number one, there is no one who's running for office who is more pro-Second Amendment than I am. That person does not exist. The current Republican is for red flag laws, and he is for gun laws. The Democrat, obviously, Hochul, is completely for gun laws like there's no tomorrow. Most of New York State is actually still anti-gun. It's still true. The blue dots across my state, my red state, are very powerful when it comes to the gun lobby, and they just want to make more illegal guns illegaler. I'm going to stop that. Here is how I stop it. I do it by saying, look, because of the Bruin case and the Supreme Court and our Second Amendment, any, and I mean any, firearm possession charge is by default pardoned. Period. Now, if you rob somebody, still a crime. You brandish, still a crime. But if you have a firearm, that is by default automatically pardoned. Once that happens, all those possession charges go away. I've just made my state open carry. I've just made open carry. I've just made it that by default, because no possession charge. Doesn't matter. Done. Now, what happens with that? The DAs will go nuts. The judges will go crazy. You will watch the police force go nuts. Great. I'm okay with it. Okay, go nuts. Great. Now you got to come back to me now, and we have to reopen all gun laws. We're going to reopen them all going back to 2012 before the horrible SAFE Act that happened in New York State in 2013. We got to look back for 2012, go back to that, and instead, I will actually keep that pardon in place until we renegotiate all our gun laws in New York State. If we don't do that, we keep the pardon in place in perpetuity. As far as Dexter Taylor is, I know him. He's my friend. I've had him on my show. He's from Brooklyn. He's a great guy. He gets pardoned immediately. And the judge who put him away, she said on record, she said, don't bring the Second Amendment into my courtroom. She will be removed. I will ensure that is removed. And if possible, I'm going to take her pension. I'm not joking. If it is legally possible, I'm going to remove her and take her pension.
Larry, I like it. People can get you at LarrySharpe.com, and it's Sharpe
True.
with an E. I brought the website up. Send me whatever links you want me to put in the pinned comment, and I'm going to pin them after the show gets processed.
Don't forget, it's Larry Sharpe with an E, and the E stands for electable.
I love it. We're going to have you back on and keep up the good work.
Have a good one.
Godspeed.